This is my presentation on the case study. I chose to read the walling off or welcoming in case study. Some background on it was a committee of sorts made up of a social emotional learning coordinator as well as parents, teachers, and principal at a particular school. Gathered to address a recent incident in which some divisive language has taken place among students. This is in the context of the time after the 2016 presidential election, along with some of the public displays of anti-immigrant sentiment that were displayed in media, as well as the vilification of Republicans by default. So the state of New Jersey has laws, just as the state of Kansas does, regarding mandatory reporting of instances of bullying or harassment. It also goes over a description or a definition of the legislation regarding bullying, which can be in the form of any gesture, written, verbal, or physical act, or any electronic communication, as in the case of cyberbullying, whether it's a single incident or a series of incidents that is reasonably perceived as being motivated either by an actual or perceived characteristic that takes place in a school, on school property, at any school-sponsored function, or on a school bus, on or off school grounds, that disrupts or interferes with the orderly operation of the school or the rights of the students, and that a reasonable person should know under the circumstances will have the effect of physically or emotionally harming or damaging a student or damaging a student's property. Kansas has a very similar language in the legislation regarding bullying. So the group is discussing whether to opt out of pursuing a criminalization path as a consequence for the students who have engaged in the ostracizing of a student whose parents are Republican and voted Republican in the election. There is another incident that is discussed in which an educator chooses to lead the students away from a political speech or ideology by trying to adhere to a neutral stance, even though it is a very political conversation that the students were having. The other issue was whether or not the teacher is actually suppressing the freedom of speech that these students have by not allowing that speech to become harmful to others. I think this case study presents many conflicting objectives here. The bottom line is that students' well-being must be the driving force behind policy. So I think that laws against bullying exist to this particular end, and my recommendation to the committee would advocate for the implementation of policies and procedures that keep students' well-being and safety at the forefront, whether that be safe from bullying, physical or otherwise. In Kansas, the law regarding bullying prevention is very clear in that it is not tolerated when in school for a student to experience this type of harassment or policy or bullying. And here's my reference.